without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. With me, we have Bo. I also have McLovin coming in a little bit. And, lots of stuff happened. I tell you, didn't I mention yesterday that Valentine's Day is not a good day across the board? Across the board, we have, Saint Valentine was killed. Like, I think he was dismembered on Valentine's Day and stuff like that. It wasn't a very good thing for him. It's like Valentine's Day in general has been bad days across the board. And tomorrow or yesterday was no different. I mean, it's everybody wearing all that red, supposed to show love. No love in Kansas City. Our hearts go out to the families, but and everybody, God bless the guy who did tackle the one shooter.
Exactly.
That was, that shows like I'm a firm believer. There are certain people that run away from danger. There are certain people that run towards the danger. Being a military guy, I'm one of those guys that I want to see what's going on, and I want to see if I'm able to help in any way possible. I don't know if I'd have had the balls enough to go tackle this guy, but thank God somebody did. You know what I mean? And that's, it's like I'd love to think that I would have had those types of balls.
Sure.
But you never know when the moment actually hits. So God bless that guy, because who knows how many more people could have been hurt or killed.
No doubt.
In the process of that.
Yeah.
Besides the shooting itself, there were a number of things that I was hearing with this story that really kind of bothered me in a big sense. But I want to get your take first before I start to hit on some of those points.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's awesome that one of the bystanders was able to tackle the guy. Incidentally, when he tackled him, knocked the gun away. Which is great for him. Obviously, helped keep him out of harm's way. Because if he was still able to have the gun, obviously that situation could have been wildly different. But at the same time, what are we doing, right? Like, why is this still a thing? And the thing that's funny about it is it immediately gets the knee jerk, guns are bad, whatever, right? And generally when this happens, these aren't registered weapons. They're not legally bought weapons. Like, that's not generally the conversation we're having, right? Like, they're usually stolen or, black market type things, guns they built, stuff like that. So, it's, I don't know why we're so anti let's address mental health issues in this country, but that's where we need to spend some money. We even had legislation, right? Jimmy Carter had the MHSA, back in 80, right? And then Reagan ends up getting rid of it for budget cuts, but that directly was addressing mental health issues. The fact that we can't seem to do that is crazy to me. Now, you can say what you want about firearms, make them harder to get, make them, register them, whatever. I'm a gun owner, concealed weapons permit holder. But at the same time, that's not the channel people are getting these weapons. So, I don't know. I feel like we just continuously have the wrong conversation is the problem there.
I would agree with that. I feel like that there is always the backside, that there's the knee-jerk reaction is from a whole bunch of people who don't have guns, don't have any interest in guns. And they are the ones that like to talk loudest when this happens.
Yep.
So let's take away all the guns so that the one person who does happen to have the gun wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that works, and I'm not a fan of that either. I do not own any guns, but it does not mean that I am not pro that thought process because, you know, if the shit ever really does hit the fan, I'm going to work out getting myself some.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's because I'm going to make sure that I can protect myself and my family.
Well, and
That being said, I'm not trying to go walk around carrying. You know what I mean? It's
for
not
sure.
important to me.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I have my concealed. I don't. But if I find myself having to go somewhere where I felt like I needed it, I wanted to legally be able to have that ability.
Right. No, and I understand that. Before I go ahead and post that, Chris, I want to make sure that that's confirmed. I haven't been able to find much about the confirmation of some of this stuff, so it's been a little challenging all the way across the board. They're keeping things a lot of this stuff hush.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The reporting has been wildly inconsistent.
yes, and uh, like I said, I initially, at first you get the shock value, and then you get the funny value of this, which isn't really funny, but it's like I said, there's certain memes that are going to come out of this in general.
Of
Uh,
course.
that's going to try to bring light, make this a little bit lighter, and it's not a light situation. Obviously,
No,
this was
but I
supposed to
mean,
be a joyous occasion,
some
and
people process it that way though, right? Like
right,
some people, everybody processes how things go differently. So, uh, I mean, people like us on screen today are probably going to make lighthearted jokes, and it's just part of how you deal with the situation. It's not
right,
that you're trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. It's just, you know, how it is you process certain things.
correct.
So before people blow us up for making an offhanded comment, because odds are it's going to happen. In fact, I would put money on it. But because I've met us, and realistically, it's probably going to come out of our face, and it's not going to be in any type of
It's not
disrespect.
it's not meant to be malicious in the way
Exactly.
that we would bring it up. It's
Exactly.
meant more to bring light, make it a little bit of a lighter on a very, very heavy subject.
Correct.
This is obviously a problem that's happening, not just in Kansas City, but across the country, and you could almost say across the world. It's just not dealt with well here.
Yeah. Well, and
That
and if I remember reading it right, there was actually another shooting in Atlanta at the same time. So unrelated. But I believe it was a school shooting.
Right. No,
So
and
I
I
mean,
that's see, and I didn't even hear about that because this is kind of taken everything. This is kind of was the entire
news cycle.
message.
Yeah.
I got this message. I believe Chris was the one that sent me the text right away,
Yeah.
and I started watching it live. And I actually caught it live before the bar did downstairs. So I had already
Mm.
seen a few different things. I caught it, and they were very quick with the coverage. I mean, obviously, there's
Which makes
cameras
sense. All the
everywhere,
cameras there.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
so it makes it really simple. There was a ton of police presence, so that was also real easy to see. Uh,
Yeah.
when I logged on, when I saw that and I logged on, it the feed was only 12 minutes old.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I remember seeing, besides a whole bunch of people running, was that somebody was giving someone else CPR.
Oh, I didn't even
And
see that part.
that's yeah, so that was very early on in the coverage. And they had the camera, and then they broke away from that right away because they didn't
Sure.
want to show that very
Yeah.
often. So there was a lot of
Was that from inside the building?
no.
That
This
was
was
outside.
outside. This
Oh,
was
okay.
outside of Union
Okay.
Station, and I knew exactly where it was because I've been to Union Station now twice in the last year. So, and I stayed right there. I knew exactly where that was happening. Like
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I stood in that spot. I walked across the street right there. I knew exactly what was going on, and this is all happening right outside of the World War II Museum.
Oh, okay.
So it's all right there. It's all the Union Station. There's a hotel across the street. It's a big, obviously Union Station's a big spot for uh, you know, people to come in and out of all the time. It's like the main hub of Kansas City, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, so like I said, when I saw that, that was like, wow, that's a little too real for me. Um, and there we go. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just so this is an epidemic. But I will say this that kind of bothered me. This absolutely bothered me, and I'm not exactly sure. Before I speak out of turn here, because
Yeah.
I feel that there's a real chance that I could do so, and I don't want to seem disrespectful in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
But if I had my kids at a parade,
Yeah.
there is no chance, there is nothing at all that would separate me from my children for any reason. And my
Yeah.
kids are 15 and 13 years old.
Okay.
So they're a little bit older. They
Sure.
can kind of handle themselves a little bit.
Yeah, but not in that situation.
Well,
Or at
it
least you
gets a
don't know
little
how they'd
crazy,
act.
but yeah, the first thing I would do is grab them
Exactly.
and then move them all together. They get to move with me now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I would do whatever I could to protect them.
Sure. Yeah,
They're
you're gonna shuffle them. You're gonna be that shield.
correct. There were three spots after this all occurred where they were collecting kids that
Yes.
had been, have to get reclaimed by their parents and such like that.
I mean, like I could see scenarios how you could get mixed up only because of the panic scenario from other people. That's one of those like you could get bumped into, and then in the crowd of people, like could get separated. Like I could see how it could happen. Obviously, you're going to do everything in your power not to let that happen, but I could see how it could happen.
I could see. I,
Not at
I
the volume
understand.
that it happened, but but I could
Yeah,
see.
that was just
Yeah,
it the way that they reported it, and there really wasn't any other way that they could report it in that regards, was like that the shooting began
and
and
people bounce.
people just ran
Yeah,
and forgot about their kids.
yeah. So they're quokkas, right? You familiar with that animal?
No,
it's
no, I'm not.
it's a rodent looking creature, and it will literally throw its kids at predators to get away.
Okay, that's an interesting way of doing it. You know what I mean? Um, Never heard of that before, but that kind of, when I heard that, it was like, wow, that's especially right now in this day and age
Yeah,
where kids poof
they do.
all the time. That you had all these kids. I mean, and I'm not going to talk about this too much, but all those kids in Hawaii that are just MIA. Nobody knows where they're at. They didn't find
Yep,
any bones. All
yep,
that other funny stuff is just all of them are just poof. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's allowed to say anything about it. They're just missing.
yeah,
And that's odd. That's odd. Now you have a situation where, you know, again, it sounds to me like that these were a couple of kids, and when I say kids, I'm saying under 25. They could be adults, but they're kids as far as I'm concerned.
sure.
That
Well, and
went
there's
nuts.
three that are detained now, from what I understand.
Yes, that originally they thought it was two, now
Yeah,
it's three.
yeah,
So it's like there is a lot, that's still probably being processed in this because Big
yeah.
Brother sees everything. There's cameras everywhere around there.
Especially in
All
this right?
Yes.
Because on top of the cameras that are already in those locations, you have all the TV cameras, all of that, everybody's cell phones. Like there's going to be an amazing amount of footage to go through. Um, so I would imagine over the next few days, we're going to see a lot of cell phone camera coverage coming out that probably even shows these shooters. I would bet money on it.
I'm
And of
surprised
course,
it's not out now.
me too. Me too. And the police presence obviously was going to be super high. This is a parade, like all of those things were there. But when you saw them running into the station, I mean, you saw military presence, police. There was some National Guard, it looked like there. FBI was there. So, I mean, like, they had an amazing amount of people there. The thing I thought was very interesting was how many of them were running into the building, because at some point you feel like maybe some of them people should have stayed outside to, because while they were running in, that other guy was running away. It's a good thing that a bystander tackled him, because all the police presence was running into the building. It seems like, at some point, it's kind of like football, right? So at some point you got to stay in your lane, right? Like there's lanes for a reason. People in the middle, got to do their thing, but the edge is the edge.
Well, you know what though? But see, now there is. I mean, they could prepare themselves as best as possible for all
Of
this,
course.
but unless you have this actually happen, once you have it live and active,
Sure.
it becomes a whole different scenario. So yes, I
No doubt.
agree that they should absolutely have stayed in their lane, but none of them have dealt with this before. None
I
of them.
mean, realistically, probably not. Yeah.
This is their first time for everything. You know what I mean? There's a first time for everything, and this was it. And I mean, this is in Kansas City. It is Bible Belt area.
Sure.
It's not necessarily the spot that you would think that this would occur, but it's like just like everything else. It's like this is going to be out there. If this was in Philadelphia, this would have this it would have been the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world. And like Philadelphians would get chastised forever.
Sure. Sure.
This may get dropped. This game may get dropped in a little while. Kansas City fans are like, and you don't even know, like, you don't even know if these people were fans or not. Like I said, the first joke that I heard, was that they were 49ers fans,
Yeah.
and they were bringing out the true meaning of the Bang Bang Niner Gang,
Yeah.
which, it's like I said, that's sounds funny initially,
Sure.
if it wasn't so real.
Yes. Yes.
And that's, so who knows if it's, who knows what their intent was. And if they're
Yeah.
kids that have just been bullied or just angry at the world, that's a shame. That
It
really is a
is.
shame, because
One,
that
of
means
course,
we are failing on a major level.
there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And at the same time, they were in Chiefs gear. And of course, if you were going to go to a parade and try and blend in to do this type of thing, obviously you're going to do that because you're going to blend in with everybody else.
Right.
Yeah. No, just a crazy situation. And I mean, it's mind boggling how often this happens.
Too often. It's
Yeah.
too often. I mean, obviously, it's not. It's rare that it's tied to the world of sports.
Yes.
But
No, I
parades
agree
don't
with that.
happen all the time. So
No, for sure.
you're not running into this.
No, I
You,
mean
when
across the board.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I said, there was 2 mass shootings yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure those 2 didn't talk to each other. They didn't say, "Hey, listen, let's do this
That's
right
right.
at the
Let's
same
coordinate.
time."
Yeah,
We got the memo. You know what I mean? It's like I did that. I'm sure that didn't occur.
yeah,
And it. I got to imagine. So the one in Kansas City they reported was the 46th mass shooting this year. So Atlanta would have been 47 or 45, depending, or like
when they
that,
hit. Yeah,
not knowing exactly what time it all occurred.
sure.
It's probably 47 at this point. Now,
Yeah,
I know that those numbers get a little inflated because of the way things occur and the way they do counts.
sure.
If if somebody, if there's somebody who is just spraying, like on a drive-by or something like that, that's considered a mass shooting.
Sure.
Even though it's very coordinated and specific, it's not necessarily. It's not what we look at as a mass shooting.
Yeah. But even
This
if
is
you say you drop it into 25%, right? 25% of that number is actual mass shootings. We're not that far into this year.
no,
So, I
no.
mean, that's still insane to me.
Yeah, 46. That's why I'm saying I don't think that the numbers really. And what considers mass? 2, 3, 5? Like it's. I
Yeah,
don't know. Like we don't. We don't. They don't really tell us those numbers.
for sure.
So, and it
Yeah,
was over a
I'll have to check
dispute.
that out.
Yeah, it's. I wish we could find real reports on stuff. It's been really tough.
Yeah, everything's
Uh,
been extraordinarily vague.
and maybe because of the age of the kids. If these shooters were young, then like under 18,
Yeah,
that's going to create a lot more wishy-washiness.
yeah,
You know, um, and who knows, across the board there could be thousands of different things that could be involved in this mix, that's going to create okay, were they from Kansas City, were they from somewhere else, are they, you know are they supposed to be where they are,
yeah.
or are they not supposed to be, and like I said, I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just trying to give all of the potential scenarios that's going to come from this. How did they acquire these weapons? You know, were they able to be
Right.
just bought off the streets? Were they able to go to the Walmart and buy them?
So
It's
that's the thing, right? Like that's one of the when we first opened up is generally these aren't legally acquired weapons, right? Which is why when people are like, "Oh, we have to make getting weapons harder and whatever," it's like that sounds fine. It's just that's not generally how where these weapons come from, right? It's not like they went down and filled out all the paperwork and waited. And I mean, that's not usually how it happens. Now, have people done it? Sure, yeah, but percentage wise, that's pretty low. Usually, it's a scenario where they were illegally taken, whether they broke into someone's house and stole weapons, got some that were stolen from somewhere, or if they build them. I mean, that is one way you can get unregistered firearms, is to buy them in pieces and assemble them yourself. I mean, so there is that aspect of it, but yeah, generally it isn't a situation where they're legally acquired weapons and registered and all of that. Like that's so when I hear, oh, we got to make it harder to get them, it's like, yeah, but I mean, you're not really affecting the people that are doing these things. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be more regulation. I'm fine with it. Like I don't care either way.
got you. Is one person was killed, 22 hurt,
Yep.
800 law enforcement.
I think 8 of them were kids, if I remember reading right. It was like 8 or 11. The number
8
was
to
kind of
48 years old to 47 years old.
yeah,
Uh, at least half of the victims are under the age of 16.
yeah,
That's what it is. It looks like it was one girl who
no,
passed. Said uh, it was an employee, DJ Lisa Lopez Galvin,
yep,
43, was the one who passed.
yeah,
She was on the radio station.
yeah, yeah.
And
Mother of 2, right? So
yes, 2 young children,
yeah,
husband, and stuff like that. Uh, Scary, just really scary. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it takes it's something like this now that creates uh, parades across the country are going to be affected by this from here on out.
100%. Yeah.
You're not going to be able to celebrate like this anymore.
No. I mean that'll end how this operates, right? Because I remember when it was here in Seattle, right? It was if you can get downtown, you could be part of it. Like simple as that. Like if you could navigate getting to the city, stroll on down. I would imagine this is going to change the way they like the routes they take, the way that you can watch. Honestly, if they do them, it might be one where they're not walking around anymore. It might just be like a motorcade kind of thing where they're on a bus. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch moving forward. Definitely unfortunate. But it's like anything else. There's always a couple of douchebags that end up ruining fun stuff for everybody.
That's exactly it. It's and everybody loves to bag on Philadelphia. It's like Philadelphia is this and that and what
Sure.
have you. What all they do is they grease the poles so that we don't climb
You
the
get some
poles.
dumpsters on fire.
We didn't do any dumpsters. There was no dumpsters on fire. The one car that got flipped over was their own car. They flipped over their own car. So, but it's like you never like there was no arrests at all, and no issues or problems that came about when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And they could say, "Oh, there was it was under 1 million people." We know for real. It was like 2.3 million people that showed up to that parade, and to not have any arrests, to not have really anybody going going nuts and such like that. It was just, it was, it was what it was supposed to be. And maybe because of last year, because this is a back-to-back situation there, that they were able to say, okay, well, this is what happened last year. I'm sure they're going to do it the same this year.
Yeah.
And it gave them a little bit of knowing what the ins and outs are. Like, all we got to do is, what are they going to check our car as we park it? You know what I mean? We can keep them in the trunk, underneath blankets and a bunch of different stuff. Nobody's going to know. And because I got to imagine there is the moment that they win, you're excited about it, but you're not planning. I mean, how long has this got to get planned? Maybe a lot, maybe a little. He's even in early today.
Wow.
Here to talk about this.
It is early.
Yeah, so
every now and again.
So obviously the conversation is everything that happened at Kansas City yesterday. Do you have any initial thoughts? That I mean, obviously you're just joining us here, so you don't know anything that we spoke about. But coming just fresh on, putting you right on the spot, what are your thoughts about what occurred yesterday in Kansas City?
Yeah, it's crazy. We live in a time where you can't have a celebration without something like this happening. And I got to tell you, folks, the more my impression of this is the more we get into things that are going across the pond, the more we can't do things at home, because you got to remember we're pretty much the target of everybody. Iran, Afghanistan, not so much Afghanistan anymore, but really Iraq, stuff going on in Iraq. Everywhere you look, we're in something, and we're the number one target. So unfortunately, it's a sad thing. We can't even, get together and let the Chiefs celebrate, their achievement, because somewhere out there, somebody's looking at that as an opportunity to strike on us. And it's,
this sounds domestic, but
and you know what though? But how much of the domestic is really domestic? I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. There are sleeper cells all over the country of people wanting to do harm.
I feel like I didn't bring enough tinfoil today.
This went a different way than I expected. So it's
no, but I'm just saying. That's how we feel. Yeah, no, I mean, if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's not just whatever.
No, I understand, but these were from every report that I've heard up at this point was that these were kids. This had nothing to do with anything going.
Oh, I don't know. When I read it today, they didn't specify who it was. I just saw that they said they had all I saw was they had suspects in custody.
Yeah, they from everything I've read so far, and of course, reporting is inconsistent. So I don't know how much truth anything has yet. But from the sound of it, two of them are, I think they just listed them as juveniles, right? So not an exact age range.
Right.
And then there was
Under
one other-
18.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
there was one other that was detained that there was no other information on. It just said there's a third suspect detained. So we don't even know what that really means, at least on the last thing I read.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So,
again, how
but
many
I think your
shootings
first
do we
statement,
have?
I'll be honest, I
Mm.
think your first statement is a little correct.
Sure.
That by having our eyes focused other places, we are foregoing what's happening in our own house. And
Yeah.
that statement is 100% correct. So I do believe that that's the case. When you say that, that makes a lot of sense to me. I
A lot
agree
of
with
things that
that.
make sense. I mean, look. I'm just looking across the nation. I mean, church shootings, school shootings. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, this is the time that we live in, and mass gatherings are no longer a safe thing. It's just not. And I don't care how much protection and security and things that they put out there. You don't know who's got what and where they got what. And so this is our new normal. I hate to say that. It sucks to
agree.
say that, but this is the new normal.
And
you don't know where it's
with
coming from.
350 million people in this country, and it's like, okay, this is a between both of the shootings, this would still be 0.00001% of what's out there of our
Of course.
all the people that are even affected by this is still such a small percentage that there is a lot of this can't happen to me type thought process
Sure.
across the board. And I feel that that's part of the reason why, like, it's funny how the thoughts and prayers go out to the families from everybody,
Of course.
but it's not a
It's never a let's take action.
yes, yeah, or what is the action to take that makes sense, that doesn't have to deal with the fact that everybody is going to be politically motivated and have to set it up a very specific way.
No, and that's why I
That's
said we're having the wrong conversation. We need to be talking about mental illness issues, because although that may not necessarily be the case today, it certainly is the case most of the time. And
right.
the fact that we immediately get the knee jerk, guns are bad, let's ban guns, whatever. And then all that does is create this cycle that we've seen 1,000 times of everybody's mad, guns are bad, thoughts and prayers. It disappears because no legislation is getting rid of firearms, right? So you're just spinning your tires in a mud hole because you're attacking a piece of the problem that is what it is, right? If we actually try to address the root cause of why these guys are getting firearms and creating these situations, well, maybe we can actually, help fix some of this
Well,
problem.
the root cause kind of goes back to parenting, doesn't it? If it's kids, then that where does it all start from, right?
Well, I
Kid
mean,
gets born. No, I'm
some
saying
of it is-
where does it, you want to know where the root cause is? The root cause is at the home. And how
Some of
well
it is.
do parents know their kids, and how well are they being raised, and what kind of morals and values are they given? Look, I'm just trying to tell you, it goes back to what I said to you earlier. We live in a different day and time. We don't live back in the days when me and Pags, and Bo, I know you're probably like in your 40s. So even back in the 80s and 70s and 60s, where things were a little bit different, the homes were a little bit different, the makeup and the cosmetics of the home was different. We live in a completely different time, and you got to understand that. If you want to know how you correct it, you don't correct it. You can't correct it. Honestly, you really can't, because to correct it, people aren't ready for that conversation because it's too sensitive.
That's literally what I'm talking about, is we're having the wrong conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if we just keep going with guns are bad, there's no progress ever going to be made.
No, I agree. And that's why some of the things that I do, and I'm not trying to tout myself in the middle of this here, but some of the things that I do as a super fan is set up programs to talk to schools about bullying.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, schools that talk about bullying, when they bring in people to talk about bullying, they talk to police officers.
Sure.
And last I checked, bullying is not something you get arrested for.
I mean, you have to do some real damage.
I think that's more of a slap on the wrist, and maybe you get a little ISS in school
So
suspension, and then you go back to whatever.
Yeah.
and yeah, Eves is from Belgium, so like I understand where the thought process in this comes from, and yes, that does have a little bit to do with this, Eves. Yeah, I agree with that, but it's the mindset of, hey, I'm so angry that I want to do something so bad that I need a gun to do it. That's the root of that. So it's yes, the access may be easier, but the thought process to get to that point to want to even get the gun in the first place is what is scary and it needs to be addressed. Because like I said, this comes from, I have to imagine that when you go back and when we analyze this and psychoanalyze this into the nth degree, that there is going to be a part of this that says, okay, this happened, and the root cause of this was, yeah, this kid was bullied in some way, shape, or form, whether it was in school, by his parents, by family members, that there is something that comes to the root of all this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different levels, even to that. I mean, we live in a day and age now where kids are brought up rather than playing outside, they play these PlayStation 5 games. And typically at a PlayStation 5, what are they playing? Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, all these things that involve robberies and shootings and things like that have no parental. Some of them don't have parental figures because maybe they're a single mom or a single dad working, so there's nobody at home, and they just do what they do. It's not hard to get a hold of a gun. Jesus, you can get a hold of a gun anywhere out here. You think you can't just go to a store? They're all over the place. If somebody wants it, they'll get it. It's like drugs. If you want drugs, you'll get drugs. And so there's no reason. Like I said, it's a day and age in which these kids are coming up in. Like you said, bullying. That's another thing. I mean, there's so many different effects that goes into it. But the root cause of it is kids and they are not having the adult guidance and supervision growing up.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not the mother's fault that they have to work jobs, but a lot of that has to do with it.
well, that conversation goes back to just the upbringing of how Generation X went to Generation Y, went to Generation Z, went to
Sure.
everything else. I Generation X was the first generation where really both parents worked. So after that starts to come about, like because if you want to afford a better life, you
Right.
have to be able to have both
You do.
parents earn income. So
Yeah.
as you start to do that, you have to rely on childcare. It used to be that a 6-year-old child could walk to school a mile and
Absolutely.
you not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. You can't have a 6-year-old child walk to school because you feel by
Mm.
day number 3, somebody's already figured out that kid's route and is going to just be able to possibly pick him up in the process, and he never makes it to school or never makes it home from school.
No, so prime example of that, right? Like as a kid, I actually got bullied quite a bit because I was a small kid, and then but we didn't fight with firearms, right? Like we threw hands, like that was
Yeah.
just part of it,
Right.
right? But I didn't go to my home schools a couple of times because I got in a lot of fights and they didn't really want me there. So I ended up going to a different school where I would literally go and get on, it's Metro here, but city transit bus, right? Because we didn't have school buses that would come get me. So I'd literally like walk a couple of miles to then get on the bus to go to school. So none of that stuff would fly today.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, we live in a different time, man.
No doubt.
Different age, a different way of thinking.
Well, and that's and yes, I agree. I mean, there's bad parenting everywhere. Let's
doubt.
let's face it. This is not bad parenting. It's funny because you're talking about having to take classes to be able to purchase firearms, and I understand all of that thought process to be able to make that happen. But you don't have to pass any classes to be able to have a child. And
No, no, you don't.
that's what things come down to. It's you have too many situations where uh even now that you are able to have kids without
Yeah, there's no IQ check.
no, whether
Oh,
you could really handle it or whether you should, whether like, you hey, you're in love for a minute. Now there's a child involved. And
right.
instead of being decent parents when you're no longer with you use that as the crutch to get back at him or her.
Yes.
Like it's like that's now the child becomes a pawn in a fight,
Right. Well, look
and
at about
that's
this too. What Pat, we didn't even hit the other. We didn't even hit the other third layer of it, right? The third layer of it is social media, and look at all the access that kids have to social media. Because that's how I check. I can go on any website I want to, and I could be at any age. I could be an 8-year-old kid looking at anything I want to look at on the web, and how much they've
Sure.
been exposed to on the web. And that's a whole other issue. So you got the web influence, you got the video game influence. There's a lot of influences that me and you, Pags, growing up, didn't have around us. So how
Yeah.
much of that is influencing the violence and the things that are going on out here on the streets? Because you can't tell me
I'm
these parents are watching everything.
no, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
they're not
I'm
watching
sure.
anything.
Exactly.
Well,
And that really is
you
the
know what?
crux of it.
Truth of the matter is, and I'm not going to blame it 100% on the parents, although you could, because some of these parents are good parents that have to work now.
Yeah.
They are struggling just to be able to keep the house that there was really too much for them to be able to afford in the first place.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
So now they're working 2 and 3 jobs. They got to leave the kids home by themselves most of the time because they can't afford the care that they need. It's not like that. It's simple enough to be like, okay, I'm going to have, uh, you know, we're not made of money. So because we're not made of money, I can't have childcare. Like bringing your kid to a daycare is expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
have,
And then
it's
how many daycares are having issues? You seen all the stuff in the daycares. You can't
uh,
guarantee your kid is
Hey,
always
I mean, I
either.
saw a story the other day where the daycare forgot the kid was in there. They
Yeah.
locked the doors.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
locked the
yeah.
doors. There's the kids
Oh,
crying
yeah.
inside there. Can't
Oh, yeah.
and everything's all locked up.
No, I
So
mean it's a lot of pressure on parents, especially at this point with how expensive things are, because it's not like people's wages have mirrored how fast things have, how expensive things have become, right? So like our house, if we tried to buy it today versus when we bought it, our mortgage payment would be more than 3 times as much. I wouldn't qualify for our house. Like you just wouldn't even be able to do it. So it puts them in a bad situation. Doesn't mean it doesn't excuse you from being a bad parent though. I mean, at some point, if you got to live in a weird situation, I guess it is what it is. But I mean, none of that is an excuse to be a bad parent. Yeah, I can see how it can lead to that, but at some point, you're supposed to choose your kid, right?
always. That's what I would think, which is what started this part of that conversation in the first place.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, like I said, that when everything occurred, there were way too many kids that were left unattended that they had to have 3 specific collection areas where you could come and collect your kid.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That bothers me. That whole thought process bothers
Yeah,
me
that's
because that
insane.
that is that you can't. I understand that there are people that get separated from their children,
Yeah.
and that's a real thing. But some of that sounds like, oh, somebody's shooting. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that I have 2 kids standing in front of me.
Mhm.
Every man for himself. And if they're too slow, then I'm faster than they are. I ain't gonna get shot.
Yeah. No, that's why I compared them to the Quokkas.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought process that there were that many children,
Yeah.
that there was 3 collection spots. So if you're a parent, hey, how do you like?
Like, how do you have a lost and found for kids? Is that crazy? I mean, a
No,
lot
it's
is down
crazy.
for kids.
That is crazy.
And that's the bothersome part of this. That is a bothersome part of this. It's like, how did that occur? How did that really happen? Because I'm not able to like I said, first thing I'm doing is grabbing my kids and like when my kids were young and I wanted to take them out into the ocean, you know, and the waves were heavy. That's what I would do. I'd literally hold on to them and push them into the waves and stuff like that. We would have a good time like that. And, if we were going to body surf, I'm holding on to them and body surf. Now, is it possible that in the process of a big wave, it come and knock me over and I lose one for a second?
Sure.
Absolutely. So, but I also had swimmies on them and stuff so that, okay, if everything occurs in the right direction, I am going to have at least a minute of time or 30 seconds or 20 seconds of time to be frantic and go grab him again.
Yeah.
Or her. I have a son and a daughter. Same type of idea that I'm going to have here is that, all right, there's something really crazy going on right now. Hey guys, here we are. Bam. Now we're in. Let's go. And I'm not using them as a shield, but I got them right next to me and we're pushing through people left and right. Like, get the frig out of my way. I'm doing what I need to do to protect my kids.
Exactly.
And the story. You know what I mean? So,
So that makes me wonder, how long is it going to be before we just stop doing, parades and things like that just because of violence?
That was what we said.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Is
right before you came on.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't do away with them, it'll drastically change how it is they happen.
Will it just go to having something on the inside and then having it streamed and you just got to watch it on the stream or on TV or whatever from inside a building or more of a enclosed environment? I don't know.
They probably won't do away with a parade altogether, but they may not have people walking around anymore. It may be a little more structured as a parade, like you have to line the street kind of thing. And,
have it only at the stadium.
Could do.
You're
going
to have a very, very protected spot. Okay,
sure.
They are in the stadium. You're going to have to get a ticket to get in and such like that. And ultimately, that's that. And maybe have it as a day of things. You know what I mean? Obviously, as beyond everything else, Travis Kelce.
Isn't it weird though that things like this now, as tragic as they are, doesn't really surprise me anymore? Like, I'm not shocked by it. I'm saddened, but I'm not shocked at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are shocked by it.
I think if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have had a shock factor to it. But now it's almost just commonplace. I mean, the concert, when the guy was shooting out of the building down into the crowd, I think it was in Vegas or whatever. I mean, you just can't have crowds like you used to have and think that everything's going to be okay.
I appreciate that. I assume that you mean, me and the Ramones shirt.
Oh, I'm imagining, yeah.
Yes, so that's I have to assume that this was actually the jersey. This is a jersey when we went to the World Championships of Arm Wrestling back in 2017. So,
well, here, since I can't change my shirt, but I see that they have a hawk logo here. Let me fix my background for you there. Now I can feel.
Oh, they are absolutely Seahawks fans.
There we go.
He's absolutely a Seahawks fan.
Now I can represent
out
for
in
you.
Belgium. Out in Belgium.
I like it.
But it's just that it's a shame that the world is coming to this.
No, it definitely is.
It is, and I don't, honestly, again, like I was saying earlier, and I'm not trying to make this political, but we are in a lot of weird areas in life now, overseas and domestically. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it makes me nervous. I mean, this was a couple of kids shooting, but who's to say that, some guy from Iran isn't going to come over here and do something even worse next time? I mean, it could be at any level, kids or parenting or and that's why I just say these mass gatherings that we have, it's just, I don't know. If I'm you, I'm thinking like, is it really worth going to? Is it really, am I going to be affected by it in some way, shape, or form?
I mean, you can't live scared though.
No, I don't live scared, but
you
I
can't-
also live smart.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, you do have to do that.
You
It's going
know?
to change how it is you prepare for an event or where at an event you may be, but
Right.
I wouldn't let it keep you from going to one.
No, you can't let. Well, you say that. You say that until it's one of your loved ones that's dead, and then you're thinking like, "Damn, maybe I shouldn't have gone."
No, I mean,
I understand. I don't know. I mean,
places-
I understand the whole scared factor, but at the same time, I'm not letting my. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not letting my kids go to these types of things because number one,
Sure.
you can't secure it. You can't keep them safe, no matter what you do.
Yeah,
And
that's
I don't know,
true.
man. I value my life too. I value
That's
my
true
life.
anywhere
you
because
know?
I've been downtown Seattle where shootings have broke out.
Yeah.
It's not going to keep me from going downtown Seattle. Like, I mean, is it the
Oh,
safest
no, I mean,
place
I'll still go
anymore?
downtown
No,
places.
it's not.
I just don't do the crowd. I just don't do the mass gatherings and stuff. Because to me, that's just an open target.
Yeah. So listen, and I hear you. There are situations that occur everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember clear as day when Super Bowl's in Tampa Bay, and I'm there in Tampa Bay,
Sure.
and I am there with a bunch of other super fans, and we are at this one area that has a whole bunch of clubs, you know, and we were told this area is a little sketch. Nice, a lot of clubs around, a lot of people having a great
Sure.
time, but the area is a little sketch. And I remembered I'm walking down the street with a Miami Dolphins super fan. We're not painted up or anything. We're just dressed in normal clothes and stuff like that. And behind us, there's a shooting. We
Yeah.
hear the gun, we see the people running, and him and I are just walking. We're like, hey, listen, if they're going to shoot us, they're going to shoot us, and I'm not going to have a chance to do anything anyways. Me
Yep.
running is not going to make it any better. So, and it's
Yep.
just, and we kind of looked at each other and said, yep, and we just kept doing our same thing.
Yeah.
Now, is that idiocracy? Is that not being afraid? Is that whatever? I don't know. I can't speak intelligently for any of that.
Like
But
it's probably a combination of the two. Like you probably should have tried to get out of what could have been direct line of fire. I mean, at the same time, you probably didn't know where exactly it was coming from.
well, not
No,
only
you
that, I
won't. That's
can't
why we
imagine
look for
somebody was
cover.
trying
And
their best
anyway,
to shoot
cover
me.
comes.
Well, in those scenarios, like like in the case of when I was downtown, they were just shooting at people. They didn't actually really care about who they were hitting. It was just shooting, right?
Right.
So in those scenarios, I mean, you probably should duck behind a wall or something, just to get out of direct line of fire. But yeah, I mean, you're going to deal with the situation however it is you do at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's not like you're thinking, hey, I have somebody trying to take me down. Like you're not going to think that generally. So usually when this happens, it's not one person is the target. They're just targeting humans.
Well, I mean, and I have been, and this is just going to sound ridiculous because this is bringing back old time stuff now. I mean, I was in the Springfield Mall when in 1985 when Sylvia Segrist came in and started to shoot kids and stuff like that. I mean, and now we're talking 1985. I was 12.
Yeah.
And some of the mass hysteria that was going on there. You know what I mean? It was, I think it was. I want to say it was Halloween. It may have been like the day before or something like that, but it was. That's. I mean, I was in the mall. I was there, and it get crazy. And there wasn't these things that happened on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you get scared. I have had situations occurred where, being robbed, getting robbed at gunpoint is a scary thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you have somebody who's scared on the other side of that trigger.
That is
I'll tell
always
you one
a
thing.
problem.
Hey, listen, I lived in DC at the time of the DC sniper. And I
Okay.
remember me and the wife would play paper, scissors, rock to see who was going to get in the back seat to pump the gas because the gas can was right there next to the back seat. So what we would do is we would roll up to the gas pump, put the little debit card in real quick, and then you would take your hand and you would That way you keep the silhouette of the car. Because this dude was picking you off as soon as you got off out of your car. And I always told my wife, I said, listen, like the Army, keep a low silhouette and keep cover around it because you didn't know. It was in Maryland. It was in Virginia. You never knew where he was going to be at or what car he was going to be shooting out of.
Sure.
And I remember those times like they were yesterday. And I'll tell you what, thank God for a back seat in the gas.
Well, and they had, and I remember that all thing occurring, and they had no idea. Like they were saying, it was a white van. It was happening in a white van. There was no white van involved whatsoever because everybody had a white van. Anybody, like everybody had a white van.
It was in a trunk of a blue car.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
He had a hole cut out, and he was just shooting them.
Yep.
Right.
But people I hate, man. I hate people like that. God, I hate that shit.
So, but I remember that whole thing occurring because it went all the way up to Philadelphia, Delaware. Like it was, there were shootings happening all over the place. It was the 95 corridor. That's where it was. It was the whole 95 corridor because they were doing it in Baltimore. They were doing it in D.C. They were doing it in Philadelphia. They did it in Delaware. It was like, I remember all that stuff occurring, and this is all part of it. You know what I mean? We are a culture, that plays the video games. You have the Grand Theft Auto where, you go just beat somebody up for the hell of beating somebody up, take their money and go in and steal a car and go and run and do this. And, and it's fantasy.
Exactly.
And, I think it's even the company who makes it is like fantasy games or something like that. Right. I think that's what it's called. You know what I mean? So that's the problem. They can't determine fantasy from reality anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, we have a lot of our country and the way we do things, and it is the beautiful thing of a free country, right? Is we have open borders, people can come here, sometimes legally, sometimes illegally, but it's easy. It's easy. And everything is so easily accessible, whether it be technology, open borders. All of this stuff is out there, right? I mean, you can put on any layers of anything. At this particular juncture, happened to be some kids doing it. Could have been something else.
And ultimately, if it's kids, we'll find out the reason why very easily because kids don't have the ability to deal with some of the, they don't have the training to be able to handle keeping their mouths shut.
Yeah,
usually 9 times out of 10 with all of these shootings that have occurred by kids, there was always something on social media or something that they said in the inner circles, and then it comes out after the fact. All of this, but it was actually out there.
It's the reason why that's the reason why they're probably not releasing the names. There's probably a couple of reasons. One, they're too young. Two, for anybody else who's got the same name. So say it's John Smith. That did this. Say it's a weirdo name like Jamie Paye, that there was a Jamie Paye who did this. I know I wasn't in Kansas City, but there's somebody named Jamie Paye out there. Do you know how much I would get from that?
Oh yeah.
That would be my whole family would be tortured because of that.
Of course.
And that's some of the problems with social media. Like that somebody starts to get wrongfully tormented. Because they share a name with someone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And and the thing about it is even the family members and relatives, other people that did do it, even they get tortured. And they had nothing even to do with them. So you can only imagine like what Pags is saying. And I believe that 100%.
On a lighthearted note, I like Blake the Snake's icon there.
Blake the Snake, baby.
So, but I mean, yeah, like I said, I felt like that we needed to start this off. I'm glad you came early so that we don't have to bring this into the second hour. Exactly. It was something that I felt needed to be discussed for a little bit. And like I said, I'm glad that you came early because it would have been tough it would have wound up going for a 2-hour show. And maybe it deserves to be a 2-hour show. I just don't feel that us as a sports show and talking about this, we have different opinions and stuff like that. I'm sure there's thousands of different opinions across social media in general about what had occurred. I felt that we needed to talk about it. We could express our situation about it as well. But after that, it's over. Like we're gonna let this sit for a little while. We will report later if we hear more stuff, i.e., like tomorrow, the following days, and stuff like this.
Yeah,
It's
and that's what I was going to say is, I mean, this obviously isn't going to be the last time we end up talking about it. Obviously, as more information comes out, we'll cover more of it, obviously.
right, exactly. So, and it'll be great when we can actually look back and laugh, even though I don't think it'll ever be funny. But it's that's part of the issues and the problems with doing some of this stuff like we did today, but and the world today. But ultimately, we're going to take our station identification break, and we'll be back for the second hour, a little bit on the lighter side, hopefully, of this one was a deep and heavy one, and sometimes these days occur, but ultimately, we'll be back with the second hour of Coast to Coast right after these messages. I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And welcome back to the second hour of Coast to Coast, where we have all three of us here. This is the lighter of the 2 hours, and we're going to start off. You know what? I did want to mention this
He
Travis
looked
Kelce
hammered.
Yes, he absolutely did look hammered.
It looked like he was going to kiss Nick Wright.
Hey, look, I'm okay with Kelsey being under the influence on stage. As long as that man got a DD, which you know he does, let that man celebrate. Hell with it.
And that's okay with that. I'm all right with some of that. But are we starting to get a little too calcified?
Sure.
Like, are we going through, is it, and listen, Jason Kelsey's a Philadelphia Eagle, love him to death. Like I said, I wear his pants, so it's, I'm not, I love the podcast. I love what they're doing. How much of this is becoming an act? Because I understand, and listen, Jason was always this way a little bit. Him jumping out in Buffalo and not wearing a shirt and doing that. Okay, I get that. Him going to the Chiefs party wearing a luchador mask and being all done up in Chief stuff. All right, you're supporting your brother. I can get that a little bit.
A T-shirt would have been sufficient.
Yeah, Travis, you know, going like he seems like he's doing more and more and more. At what point? At what point do you think that it could go over the line?
I'd say it's rapidly approaching that point. Right?
Oh, it's going to go over the line. That's inevitable.
And when that
as long
occurs,
as it makes money. Does it make enough money? If it's making enough money,
well, that's the thing. It's when it hits that point that'll be the part where do you start to lose sponsors because you did take it a little too far, right? That's when you see those endorsements drop off because they're like, okay, you guys are now you're a problem. You're affecting our brand. So I think it is headed that direction, but I don't think obviously they're not there yet.
Right. And how much further? Like, what do you think? I mean, there's a lot of different stuff.
If he's a little lit on stage, who cares? You got a freaking Tom Brady out there on a raft throwing the Super Bowl trophy across the floor. Hold on, and then you got him being held up by two guys because he can't walk on his own power, and we're not even giving Tom Brady this much crap. So if you want to take, I would take that out of the equation. If you want to maybe say that the luchador, I don't know. I don't think anybody's pulling sponsors unless you're talking criminal activity. I don't think it's going to happen.
No. I don't think it has anything to do with him being drunk. That's not what I was saying at all. I think it just has to do with where, to Pag's point, where their act is going, right? Is they're becoming a little more loose as more time goes on. That's where you can ultimately get yourself in trouble. I don't care about him drinking at a parade.
But I don't know.
I mean, when we look at Tom Brady threw the Super Bowl trophy between boats.
Yes.
Thank God that it made it to the other side of the boat because he was pretty hammered.
He was way hammered.
On the plus side, it is a hollow trophy. Supposedly, it would float.
No, that would not have floated because it's metal. It wouldn't be buoyant.
It's hollow. It's hollow. It sounded like the air pocket inside.
It doesn't even have it's got a triangular shape. There's nothing for buoyancy with that trophy. Maybe that's
kind of what I'm getting at. It wouldn't be buoyant.
On the top. Yeah, the ball on the top. It wouldn't float on top, but it sounds like there's enough air in it that it would have stayed just below the surface kind of thing.
I don't know that would be the case, but I think that there would have had to have been divers that gone down to go get that.
Well, I mean, someone would have went and got it. If it did sink, someone would have went and got that thing.
Look, whether it floats or it sinks, if the damn thing hits the water, you don't think that there's going to be a little bit of a tarnishment to Tom? I mean, come on, Tom, you kind of threw it in the ocean,
or it was the bay. It was the bay.
Bay, river, a body of water. You're throwing. Come on, Tom. What are you doing?
No, I mean, I wouldn't have thrown the thing.
But I'm beginning to think
a new one.
I am beginning to think that they are they're going a little overboard, and some of it is a little too forced.
Yeah,
that's what I have the issue with. I like I said, I love Jason Kelce. I like Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? It's not like I have a disdain for either one of them. However, I feel like that they are starting to go a little more, little more than they should, than they need to. And yes, I was on a metal ship. The whole ship was metal and it floated, but there were a lot of different things part of that ship to make it buoyant. A trophy that is for the championship of football is not really put in water to check its buoyancy. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's not a naval vessel. It is a trophy.
I mean, if he threw it a little short, it would have became one.
It might have been a submarine is what it was.
Hey, I promise you, I have a damn good feeling that if I had to put money on the over or under, I got a damn good feeling that son of a bitch is going to the bottom.
Yeah,
I
it's a
would
sinker.
put money
That's
on
a
it going to
sinker.
the bottom.
Yeah, and it
But I
was,
was,
and like I said, they did their parade on the river, so it's not
yeah.
that river's been dredged. It's only about 18 feet deep. It would have been fine. Like somebody would have jumped in. Like somebody could have jumped down and gotten it. Probably, it probably could have even been recovered that way without divers and all.
Probably.
But, and I also got to imagine that because of the way they did that parade, that there were divers in the water already.
Because I would have dove in that thing and said, finders, keepers.
Yeah, because ultimately, I mean, my thought on that was when I went and did the polar plunge, there was a diver in the pool, just in
That's
case
in case
somebody
you
went
get
into
shot.
shock.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got to imagine for
You
that
do not
parade,
need a dead
there
pad.
was divers in there, just in case Tom fell in,
Exactly.
because he was a little bit too much tequila that day, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, and the denominator between all
So
of
here
this
we go. Here we go. Yes, the trophy does in fact float. The whole trophy only weighs 107 ounces.
Still think it floats.
107 ounces is 8
And
pounds.
it's 20 inches tall, worth about 50 grand. So, but it does say it would float.
The only thing I think that would make that thing float is the football itself, because the football itself is shaped like a boat, right? It does have buoyancy properties, but the rest of that damn trophy doesn't. So I think you take the football off that damn thing and it's down at the bottom.
Well, sure. If you fill it full of sand, it would sink too. What the hell are we talking about?
No, Bo. We're talking buoyancy, Bo. You were not in the Navy. You do not know buoyancy. You do not know buoyancy.
I own a
But
boat.
you just Googled it and Google said it would float.
ESPN says it would float.
Yeah, because I trust ESPN.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Unless
if Adam
they put it
Schefter,
in a
Schefter says it'll
water.
float, it must be true. Just like everything else he reports.
It does not say that it was reported by Shefty. That I feel like I would trust Nickelodeon over that.
No, but I wonder how much
Who lives in a trophy under the sea?
Hey, man, I wonder how much of that trophy though is. I can't do this. I can't.
My lord!
It is the ball that makes it float. There's enough air in the ball. The ball will float.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. It would float.
But how much of that, if Taylor Swift doesn't come into Travis Kelce's life, I mean, would they even be acting like this, even with the Super Bowls and all? I don't think they do, because they weren't doing it before, really, to this level. I think this is all just that Taylor Swift effect.
So I'm sure it sped the process up, but they were doing more and more the more they won. So I think they would have got there. I think the Taylor Swift may have sped the process along, but I still think they get there.
Yeah, and I don't think, like I said, I think that the Taylor Swift accentuated it some. But I kind of believe that it's, listen, Jason Kelce became an icon in the city from the speech. Yeah, and listen, he's very intelligent. It's much more intelligent than people actually give him credit for. I understand he's a football player. He's a businessman. He does a lot of different things. And he is, he's not always, they don't always go nuts.
Right.
He has a few beers and stuff like that. And I got to imagine that there is, he got to put his pants on the same way we all do.
Yep.
Both legs at the same time. So, that's just me.
I look at this. If Tiger Woods could go through all the craziness he went through, and his brand is still amazing, and if what's his name, Kobe Bryant can go to a ski resort, have sex with a girl that claims rape and all that craziness that he went through, and his brand is still, Travis Kelce gonna be just fine. As long as he don't do nothing too criminalistic, he gonna be all right.
Until he does something that makes him and Taylor break up, and then Taylor starts writing songs about him, and then he's embarrassed.
Now that could happen.
That absolutely could occur.
That could happen, and of course, all it has
that
to
is
be
really
is
the more realistic scenario. I think
all it has to be is something that rubs people the wrong way, that attracts the cancel culture of younger people. Like
that's true. That's
And
true.
let's
though.
and let's
You're
and
right.
let's call the spade a spade here. It could happen with the situation that just occurred. All he's got to do is
Good.
respond in a way that people don't like, and all of a sudden things could turn very, very quickly. So if I think that you do a little bit about some of what we did, thoughts and prayers, talk about it a little bit, be very against the act in general, and then let it lie. Do not go further into that conversation because
And
that
I don't think
that
he
could
will. I think he's
that
got a
could
PR
really.
person over there scripting anything that he wants to say. I don't think he's going to go Donald Trump on it. He's going to keep it
Well,
quiet.
no. We can find out on Wednesday. We're going to find out on
True.
Wednesday
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's when their next show comes out. So ultimately, there's going to be, I got to imagine you have to address it, and the world is going to be watching.
I think you keep it
You know,
short, sweet, and to
not
the
like
point.
not like they're watching us right now. You know what I mean? Because I know that out of the hundreds of thousands of people that watch this show on a daily basis, that our effect is small.
Oh yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. So, and I appreciate all those hundreds of thousands of people that are tuning in right now, here and on Roku. As I'm sure the one person who was watching on my X is like, what do you mean millions of people that are watching? Hundreds of thousands of people that are watching. Yeah, it's like, I know that there's somebody saying I don't see 100,000 people watching.
I was just rolling with it. I'm like, yeah, all those people.
So, and it's funny because when I do my parade, we have a parade. Talking about parades, we have a parade every year, the Saturday after New Year's, and it's called the Dummers Parade, and because it's a parody of the Mummers Parade. We do it in Delco, so it's yeah, and I appreciate that. Ottawa Valley Coffee coming in hot. Thank you very much, Ottawa. We appreciate that. So,
Ottawa, we love coffee.
Hey, listen, we got Belgium in the house. We got Ottawa in the house. We are worldwide here. We are definitely a worldwide podcast.
If I see somebody coming from Vietnam, we are definitely worldwide. Can I get a Vietnam in the house? Vietnam, shout out. Thailand, shout out.
Exactly.
We'll work on that a little bit.
We would appreciate that, Joseph. Absolutely.
So, anyways, we have our parade, and I'm always talking about we're in a very small community, and we'll have maybe 100 people come join us for the parade. It's for a charity. It's for a great cause. We raise like $5,000. But when I'm doing my live video of the parade, I'm talking about the thousands that are in our parade and the millions of people that came out to watch us and the billions of dollars we're raising for charity.
Sure.
When you see what I'm pointing at, there's nobody there. So when I'm talking about the millions of people watching and you see two people on the street, it's meant to be funny. It's meant to be funny.
That's what I say, man, there's a fire outside the house. There's a million firefighters out there. No, there's not. There's like 6.
The fire is a little it's in a fireplace.
You're just photoshopping them all in. Be like, are they all the same person? Like,
he goes, as the blaze winds down, but he's really saying as the candle winds down.
Yeah, exactly.
What we thought was a blaze turned out to be a candle.
There were a couple of things that did occur that were a little bit surprising. That did happen in sports. I wanted to just mention this really quickly. How about the fact Wilkes got fired?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
I feel like they picked the wrong fall guy.
Yeah, definitely the wrong fall guy. If anything, it should have been the special teams because the point after attempt was missed. If you want to fire anybody, fire that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
because it was the defense that kept them in the damn game.
Yeah, they had a few special teams problems in that game, and they had some special teams problems all year, really. Like they made mistakes on special teams. Like if you were going to have a fall guy, it probably was that coach that would have made the most sense.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look at the game, one of the things we weren't talking about was the defense, right? like you talked about it a little bit at the end when they were gassed, but I mean, they were gassed. Like everybody runs into a similar situation at that point. But prior to that, I mean, the defense was a top defense all year. They played well through the playoffs. They played well through most of that game. So I found it interesting. It sounded like maybe there was a philosophy difference between Wilks and Shanahan. So maybe that played into it. But if you were just looking for a fall guy, that was the wrong guy.
I mean, he called philosophy difference all you want, but last time I checked, there were 4 quarters. He was holding them down pretty damn much. Matter of fact, it's not for the defense. You're probably going to get hammered. And if you want to, again, you don't miss that damn extra point, you're Super Bowl champions. So why are you firing the one guy that's literally keeping you in contention?
Right on.
Same thing on the other side with Kansas City. Great defensive side for those guys. Honestly, both defensive coordinators did a great job.
Gotcha. I agree. And so it was a surprise to me that they let him go.
Well, that's why he can bring his butt
and
over
it's
the
a shame. It's a shame because now I'm like, yeah, I wish we could have waited till after the Super Bowl. He would have been an awesome defensive coordinator to pick up since that would happen. And hold on.
But but let me ask this: do you think now that he's out there, Wilkes is out there, you think Jerry's thinking like, God, I could have had this guy instead? We went and got Zimmer,
an MMA fighter.
All right.
So hey. You know what? I'd love to talk some MMA. We talk not enough MMA on this show. We only really talk about football and sometimes some NASCAR.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we were even going to talk about that today.
Well, but we get to talk a little baseball first because, excuse me, my living room. A report came out from my living room. Major report came out. It was just released. It was verified by the New York Post, the Washington Post, USA Today, and everything, all using Dolan's bar, Jamie Pond, PSG's living room as the source. This major news that came out was that Lenny Dykstra suffered a stroke. And
damn! Oh, he passed?
No, he didn't. He didn't pass.
Okay, good.
He's convalescing. He is convalescing. Listen, I know Lenny. I actually have him on my speed dial here. Beyond all of the things that Lenny Dykstra is, he's not a bad guy. Well, how do I put this?
I like that you're walking it back before you even got it all the way out of your mouth.
Yeah. Let me go all the way out. Let me come back up a bit.
He is, he is troubled. He's a troubled guy. I feel like he doesn't mean half the stuff that he does. Doesn't stop him from doing it. He's somebody who does not have the circle around him that is able to help him and control some of the stuff that's going on, that he gets himself involved in. And the fact that he suffered this stroke might be a big slap in the face. It might be time for him to realize, like, hey, it's wake up time now, because we can't continue to live the lifestyle. I can't continue to live the lifestyle that I'm living as we're doing this, because it's not anything that he can, like I said, it's bad. He lives a tough life. He's got a very tough paper route. Even back in 1993. And I remember, and I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this for as long as I live. He said it on national television. He's like, when somebody's writing, hey, how is it that you guys are able to do the things you're doing and hit the ball the way you are and play the way you are? And he came right out and said on national television, good vitamins, really good vitamins.
There you go.
He said right out loud, "Yeah, we're taking steroids and Percocets." That's what that said to me. Steroids and Percocets, we're taking them, and that's why we're
Jeez.
winning games.
Jeez. Well,
He wasn't lying. He was not lying.
Steroids and Percocets, baby.
Hey,
that's
how
we
I don't
did.
even know much about Percocet. What exactly does a Percocet do for a person? Can y'all tell me that, please? Is it like a depressant?
We don't have enough time. It is, they're harder to get right now, but
Well,
it's
you gotta
like
give me the full. But I mean, is it like, does it enhance you in some kind of way?
It's
a painkiller.
It's
a painkiller. Okay.
It's a painkiller that also could give you like a spark of energy and such like that. Like if you were taking it in the proper circumstances, it will. I know certain people that will take that could take a Percocet and clean their entire house. I knew other people that could take a Percocet and it would knock them out because of just it would take every bit of energy that they had out of them. So there was different ways of being able to do it. Yeah, deal with this. It's
there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
Vicodin. I mean, that would be a perfect storm.
That right there, you can imagine seeing this person sitting outside a Chevron right here.
Oh Lord, sweet Jesus!
They got some OE and some 3
A Chevron. I love that. The fact that you called it a Chevron. Yeah. Yeah. They don't have chevrons around here anymore, but I know what a chevron is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's absolutely a perfect case scenario there. But that was reported from my living room. When my living room starts dropping knowledge and starts putting stuff out there, that's amazing stuff right there. What some of the things that you are able to get from PSG and company coming in my living room and getting news.
And that's why I support local sports bars. Because you just never know what you're going to get.
You just never know. You never know what happens at the water cooler or at the bar cooler.
Exactly. So, but I had to report that was actually a fantastic when I heard that. I was like, wow, how about that? We got this all together. And like I said, it was reported by the Washington Post and the New York Post and everything. And they cited us as the actually, it wasn't me. It was the owner of the bar, because the owner of the bar is really good friends with them. And like I said, we've seen him here a few times. Lenny loves coming here, and every time he comes here, he kind of stays here. So it's a great spot. Exactly. That's why the millions of people are watching this from all over the world to get exclusive. Only the best stuff comes from Delco and from Ridley. That's what I'm talking about. We get it all right here in my living room in Ridley Park. It's just this is
This is the level of nonsense that you can
Main
get
Street, Main Street, planet Earth. That's where you're at. You're at Main Street, planet Earth, right here in Ridley Park, Dolan's Bar. Thank you very much.
Sponsor from Dolan's Bar, because he's getting tons of publicity today.
This is my living room. This is where I live. So of course it's I'm
Tell
going
you
to give
what,
as much.
whenever I go to Philly, I'm going to Dolan's Bar. I'm going to find this place. Then I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to ring Pag's doorbell 15 times and just run away.
Away.
That'll be fine, because I won't be here. I'll probably be downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to
let you ring the doorbell all you want
on the door. He's going to be like, "Oh, I know that guy. He should probably he's going to be up there for a while."
There you go. Yeah, watch out, Sports Center. No longer ESPN. It's RPDB.
That's right.
Ridley Park, Dolan's Bar, or actually, it would probably be DBRP. Dolan's Bar, Ridley Park.
Definitely the DB.
Yeah, exactly. Say it how you'd like. But I appreciate it. Thank you, Belgian, checking out, letting us know that he was watching us. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It really is a lot of fun to do that. And here we go. At Prospect Park. Don't confuse Ridley Park with Prospect Park. Whole different world over there. Right down the street, whole different world. They don't get the news like we get the news.
That's right. They watch the news from our spot.
That's the low. What is that like the lower end park?
Say again.
Is that like the lower end park? You know, if you're not at Ridley Park, that's you're.
You know what, Eves, I'm not sure. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure. Publish the draft for the NFL draft, I assume.
Yeah. Do you mean like a mock draft, or are you talking about us actually going and reporting from the draft? Because
or you just need a draft of the transcript of this show, which is, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It could be anyone. Or when are we drinking a draft beer?
That's actually probably sooner than all of the things.
Yeah. Oh, the real deal from the living room. You know what? I do go live from the living room frequently enough. It's only a matter of time before we actually do that, and I get everybody here, and we do a live show from the living room. That could very well occur sooner than later.
Oh, that's Gandalf over there.
Hey, what the hell? I'll just turn around me.
Hey, listen. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not that old. I don't even gray yet.
Hey, listen. I love Belgian brews. That's what I like to drink. I am.
We do like a good Belgian brew and chocolate. If you got chocolate and beer or beer chocolate.
No, I'm not a chocolate beer guy. I don't want flavors. I don't want fruit. I don't want flavors. I don't want fruit. I do like Chimay. By far is one of my favorites. I love Chimay. I love the Canadian beer. If Ottawa is still here, oh my God, it's La Fin de Monde.
La Fin de
Monde. La Fin de Monde is a great beer. Hoegaarden's okay. I'm okay with Hoegaarden. I like those types of. I like the wit beers, the wheat beers, and stuff like that. Bigger fan of those types of beers. We'll have to do a beer show at one point. We will do that. Because we could talk about all those different types of beers and just be doing that type of stuff. It's just it's awesome.
Granted, it'd be 9 a.m. here, so I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I'll have to look like an alcoholic for the day. I'll have to get a bar to open early for me, and do a little interview with the owner, and that way. It's a quiet place to drink.
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more on that. I am not an IPA guy. Actually, I'm not a hops guy in general. I can't drink beer that are too hoppy. It's way too much.
You remember the old? I forget. I want to say.
I'll take that.
It was either Budweiser or it was Coors. I don't remember which one of the two it was that had the bitter beer face. Right, that's most IPAs.
Oh yeah.
Right, where the guy was like sucking his face into his lip.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, and you know what? I remember when it was cool when we were watching the Budweiser bowl games.
Yeah, Bud Bowl was the best.
Bud Bowl, they were great commercials.
They were. It was at halftime. You watched the Bud Bowl, it was great. It was great.
So apparently, I just Googled that. So it's Keystone Light that called it the never.
Oh, it was Keystone. Beer. That's why I didn't remember it.
Keystone Light had the bitter beer face.
Yeah, that makes sense because there's no beer in their beer. That's bottled water, so that makes sense. But yeah, no, the
bottled Panther piss.
Yeah,
with seltzer.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I'm big on when I drink beers. I like to drink triples. You know, I mean, I drink normal beer. Like if I'm just drinking the drink, I'll drink Miller Lite. You know what I mean? That's the best of them all. I will drink some champagne of beers. I do like the High Life.
Okay.
Some.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I used a long time.
I used to have a big deal. It used to be a big deal to me that I would only drink beer out of green bottles. Okay. Sounds ridiculous, but for something about the green bottles that would make the difference. So Rolling Rock, and I don't know if you have Rolling Rock out where you guys are at.
Yeah.
That's a green bottle. Yingling Lager, also a green bottle. There was Heineken, obviously green bottle. Mickey's Big Mouth.
Yeah,
green bottles. I mean, as far as bad beers go, green beer.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember Mickey's. Yeah. No, it was. I remember drinking bad beer, especially when you were young, right? Especially if you were hypothetically underage drinking, right?
The grenades, the Mickey 22s. That's what they were. The Mickey's 22, the big mouth bottles. You could be drinking them. You could drink them down fast because you didn't want to taste them. You just drink it fast.
Exactly.
Yep. That's why they called it a grenade.
Exactly. Because you did it and then you threw the bottle.
Yeah. No, yep. No, but I remember drinking all, and then of course, I remember going and getting the 18 packs at MGD, right? Because they were $10.99 for an 18 pack, and it was in bottles. So you were just like, okay, you're a little bit fancier. You got the bottle. Again, you may or may not have had to ask someone to go buy that for you.
And listen, I only mentioned Heineken because it came in a green bottle. I am not a Heineken fan, actually.
No,
the Heineken
it's not
Silver.
tasty.
The Heineken Silver is a little bit better tasting, but it's not. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. So,
8-ball ice, man, Crazy Horse. Wow, that's. I mean, that's not even bottom shelf. Like that is basement stuff right there.
Is that like one step up from Robitussin?
No,
that is literally barely a step up from the generic can that just says beer on it.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
They used to have Schlitz malt liquor.
Yeah,
well, that was just malt liquor. Like malt liquor, Crazy Horse was just malt liquor, and it had a higher APV.
Yeah, that was things like Thunderbird and
like you stopped going from beer after that, and you went to the good wine like Mad Dog 2020 or Boone's Farm.
Boone's,
like
exactly.
That's where you would start to go. You would start to expand your horizons after that.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my Lord!
Just
now we're talking
straight trash. That's all that was. Straight trash.
And the next day when you woke up was hell.
Oh, that was the good thing. When you would drink that stuff like that actually taught you how not to have a hangover. You might still be drunk, but you didn't get a hangover.
Exactly.
Because your body processed it like I got to get this out as fast as possible. You could drink your own piss and get drunk again. Not that I tried that. So
I'm going to take a bet. How many people think the Pax is over there drinking piss?
0. You ain't got to worry about that. Yeah, even a little bit.
I don't think that's a real thing.
I mean, he's not going to admit it. I just want to know the
So, and there you go. Anybody who wants to go check it out. I mean, like I said, he's a Seahawks fan. So even though he's got bad taste in football teams, he is a great guy. He's a great guy over there. And has been a follower of the Philly Sports Guy for a long time. I met him because I do have, like I said, the Seahawks fan base is actually probably my second biggest fan base beyond the Eagles that follow me. Because, like I said, when I had COVID, I had most of that fan base reach out to me, including parents of some of the players, some mothers of some of the players reach out to me to just make sure I was okay. When I had COVID. So I have a huge love for the Seahawks fan base in general.
It was like drinking diesel. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was.
That's why they flavored it. That's why they started to flavor it.
Honestly, diesel probably tasted better than Mad Dog.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you would do it. You would get like the original Mad Dog, and you would put nerds in it. That's what you would do. You'd put the nerds in it and shake it up.
Yep.
To try to make it taste any bit better.
Yeah, that didn't work, but yeah. Yep. Nerds tried it with Skittles. Yep.
Yep. Well, yeah. See, it figures a Seahawk has got to talk about Skittles.
Yeah.
Hey, just dumb luck. Happy accident.
It was in his contract.
The Blue Hawaiian. I remember
I don't
that.
think I never tried that one.
Yeah, it's that was a later flavor, but and then the Boone's Farm.
I
Boone's
mean,
Farm
that's right down there with Hot Damn and all that other stuff.
Yeah, and do you remember, like, just going even beyond that, like before Red Bull came out, there was Jolt. Remember Jolt
Yes.
Cola?
I
Yeah.
do remember Jolt.
Yep.
That
Jolt,
stuff was
Yeah, it was-
horrible.
what was the other one?
That
Like
was the
Surge or
worst
something too.
crap ever made.
Well,
What's that?
because the problem was that the cola didn't stop the flavor of caffeine. Caffeine tastes like ass. It tastes like painted
Yeah.
ass when you're drinking caffeine straight. So, and that's the problem. That was the thing. It was, all the sugar and twice the caffeine. That was the
Yes.
slogan for Jolt Cola.
Yeah.
All the sugar and twice the caffeine. So you were getting like all of this energy and stuff like that, and just it was like, "Wah!"
Oh
it was
yeah.
like drinking 5 cappuccinos in one soda. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
triple
No, it was
espressos.
and people would go through like a couple of them at school, right? So you're just like, oh, today's about to go bad.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine being like in elementary school and somebody packed some Jolt Colas and all their kids' lunches? I'd hate to be that teacher.
Oh,
That teacher would
that'd
have
be the worst.
hell.
Yeah.
Well, and then I mean, there was lots of different things back in the day. Like, now we're talking about that type of stuff. You remember the Black Beauties? They would
No.
sell them in the convenience stores. Yeah,
I
I
heard
think
that.
that they were probably gone before yours, and in Texas, they may or may not have had them. They may have been banned already, but they used to have Black Beauties here, and they were suppressants. They were, like diet pills. Uh,
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
and but it was like, I guess, like just legal speed at the time.
Okay.
It was Adderall before Adderall was regulated.
I got you.
Oh
And
wow.
people would take these Black Beauties, and you'd be like, again, zoom, 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 zoom. Like it was maddening.
God. That's insane. I mean, you gotta be careful.
Now they're
Too,
talking about
that can give you a
candies.
heart attack, can it? I mean, if you get your heart rate up so high like that, I mean, that can't be good for you.
You know what? You didn't eat. There was a
Yeah.
reason why you would get skinny, because you didn't eat.
Hell
Yeah.
no.
So the root beer candy barrels, I loved them. I did
Yeah.
love those
As you
candy
get
barrels.
older, I believe they just called that cocaine, but
Right.
You know
Well,
what? I'm literally looking up Black Beauties, and that's what it says: Adderall, just like Adderall.
yeah, it was Adderall before it was legal.
Yep.
They would give you like 100 milligram pills, and they were these little small pills that were black.
Wow.
That's why they called them Black Beauties.
That.
oh yeah, mini thins. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So we had the same thing.
That's what they were called here,
Yeah.
where you guys were?
Oh, that's insane.
So, I mean, there was always a lot of different stuff that you could take. I mean, think about the 5-hour energy drinks that you do. Those little bottles that, I mean, or the ginseng, when the ginseng was the
Yep.
big deal. You
Yep.
do the little thing of ginseng, and it was like, oh, okay, it's keeps the yang up.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what that was meant to do. So,
Yep.
all right, Eves, I'll get it after the show. Thank you.
Wow,
I appreciate it.
that's insane.
But there was lots of different stuff that people would take. Actually, in West Virginia, they actually have one of the largest ginseng population of farms in the world. That it's Chinese. The Chinese buy the ginseng off of people's houses. Literally, it grows on people's houses in West Virginia because they have the right climate, and literally because some of these houses are built into mountains, it just gives you the right soil content or whatever. It's very, very odd, but the best ginseng in the world comes from West Virginia.
Interesting. And
That is
I mean, at
interesting.
least
I
it
didn't
used
realize
to.
that.
At least it used to. I mean, I don't know. Like I haven't seen ginseng in forever. I don't even know if it's still a thing.
I'll have to ask
but-
Melanie that because my wife Melanie, her family's from the mountains of West Virginia.
She's been-
they got
been
the root
putting it in your
tillers.
food.
Everything's built into the mountains. I'm gonna have to ask her about that ginseng if that was a thing on their rooftops because she's from their houses are all in the mountains. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to ask her that.
Yeah, see, he's saying he knows what I'm talking about. Like they made a show about it. Like you did not. Like if you were anywhere near, first off, these guys were not on the beaten path anyways. So if you went into their area, there was a chance you were going to get shot because there's no reason for you to be in their area.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the show. I do remember the show. But there was monster money in that. Like China was sending over, like these guys, like they have more toes than teeth, and both are missing.
Yeah, exactly.
and these guys were millionaires because of the money China was sending to them, because the ginseng was so much better than they were getting back home.
Yeah, I just texted Melanie. She texted me back saying that because they have about 300 acres out there in the mountains, and she said people would try to come onto her property and they would take ginseng off of her, or try to get off their property, and they got met with a few things. But yeah, so
yeah, that's exactly it.
There.
You don't mess with it. You do not mess with it. So I mean, and I knew, like I said, I
something about that, and I guess I just thought about it. But when you said it just now about West Virginia, that made me think about a conversation I had with her. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and just like they used to have the show, or they may still have the show, the Moonshiner, like moonshining and stuff like that.
Yeah,
still is a big thing.
Yeah, that's still a show.
Still a big thing. What's it called? Tickle, I think it is. You know, the guy's last name is Tickle. So
I know who you're talking about.
But yeah, just it's amazing some of the things that you get. Like you would never think. Like you hear about cigars, Cuba, Central America, all the places where the tobacco and the wraps come from, and yet for some reason or another, there's an area in Connecticut that makes some of the best wrappers in the world. Have the best wrappers in the world out of Connecticut.
Yeah.
How the frig is it in Connecticut that you're doing it? Tobacco world is in like Kentucky area, North Carolina, Tennessee, and stuff like that. But yeah, Connecticut has some of the best wrappers for cigars in the world.
What's interesting? No, because my dad's side of the family, they were all from Kentucky. They were all tobacco farmers out in Kentucky when they first came here from Scotland. Then that's interesting. I didn't know about Connecticut having the best wrappers, though.
Yeah, it's very, very odd that like that there is a climate that allows that to occur naturally, because you could fake it anywhere.
I mean, is it the humidity that they have, maybe, or is it the coolness?
I don't know. I don't know enough about cigar wrappers
I'm about to find that
to
out.
be able to answer that intelligently, but I know that there's big business for that type of stuff.
Well, I bet if you go to a specialty cigar shop or whatever, they could probably. I'm gonna have to ask that, because there's a couple of cigar shops around here. I'm gonna ask them that all they do is sell the real fancy. Like you got to know your stuff, because it's like a big humidor when you walk in. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you remember. I mean, you think about all the different weirdo things that absolutely occur and stuff like that. You remember, the Cafe Luwak coffee. It's the coffee that comes from the beans that these tree cats eat and then poop them out.
Oh, okay.
And because the digestive juices of the cats change the bean and give it its flavor. So it's like the most expensive coffee in the world is poop from a cat.
Ain't that some stuff? Huh.
Yeah, that was in the movie. That was in the movie. I want to say As Good as It Gets, but it wasn't that. It was but it was with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman.
So what was that,
Jack? Would you drink that coffee? Would you drink that coffee from the cat's poop?
It's not straight out of their poop, man. They're still roasting.
I don't know what it is. I'm just asking. Look, it comes out the butt. It comes out the butt. I'm just asking you a simple question. Would you drink the coffee?
I'd probably try the coffee. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee, so no.
Because I think I would try it too. Honestly, if it's the most expensive coffee, I'll give it a shot.
It's just got a very unique flavor.
Well, that I bet.
That's it.
But yeah, no, I mean,
I'll give it a shot.
They still roast the beans and stuff, so it's not like it's straight out.
Right. I mean, it's going to go through a brewing process, so any bacteria would have already gotten burned out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did get to go through a cigar factory in Dominican, which was very cool. So they were actually still hand rolling them and everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was. I still kick myself for not buying a box of them when I left.
Did they at least give you one to sample after the tour? Like, hey, here's a free cigar you can smoke.
No, I had a friend that bought some, so I ended up smoking one of his. But I mean, they were good. But I do kind of wish I would have bought some before we left.
What was the name of the animal that you said is that throws its kids at?
It's Quokka.
This is a civet. It's an Asian palm civet. Is who partially digests the coffee cherries, and they're eaten by this civet, and they pass them through, and it's partially digested, and that's what is used to make the coffee.
Why did I feel like we went from a sports show to the History Channel?
It's been a unique couple days here on Coast to Coast. And, Coast to Coast really means the topics we cover has nothing to do with it.
So far, I've learned about the most expensive coffee, where it comes from. Pags is talking about Black beauties and Adderall. I mean, I'm learning a lot of stuff today.
We did say something about sports. We came on and said Coast to Coast sports, and then we moved on.
I'm just saying it. I'm learning some stuff today. Like today, I found out clearly that Connecticut has the best cigar wrappers.
There you go. And still no NASCAR. You're right. We're out of time. So NASCAR's still not going to happen today. But Friday's a new day. And so it's entirely possible.
Yeah, and actually, because tomorrow we will talk a little bit about it, because I want to find out a few different things, since we did find out that there is somebody as part of our panel that used to race cars. And so I want to find out a little bit. I may even have.
It was I may have down a hill though. It was no engine. It was go get your feet. That was a pretty good Derby champion, let me tell you, because I had a lot of front weight.
And I do have a friend of mine who's also a Seahawks fan, ridiculously enough, that is part of the Arco series.
Oh, very cool.
And and is a current racer.
Awesome.
So,
cool.
So I may have him come on tomorrow just to talk a little bit about, hey, since we're going to be talking NASCAR, and I'm a big fan of maybe turning right on occasion. So there's only two courses that I even care to watch. And I did find out yesterday that, because I have been up to Pocono Raceway. I have driven a race car. Well, it's kind of like a speed car on that track with somebody in the car with me, because ultimately they don't want you destroying that car, and you got to step on the gas as best as possible, get up, blah, 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 it's like they just want you to do whatever. And they scare you so much that you don't get to drive the car the way you need to. Yeah. By the time you get around to the third lap, you've been scared for the first two laps. By the third lap, you don't even have the opportunity to really do it, because it's that was your 3 laps. Cost a lot of money to do it, and that was that. It would be better if you could buy like 10 laps. That's
I would do that. Those cars ain't cheap if they're sitting there racing. And God knows how much those cars cost.
I drove I think a Shelby Mustang.
Okay.
That had 720 horsepower, and it was I actually have all of the stuff. I still have the card and everything and such, and I videoed me doing it for a minute and blah blah blah. And it was cool.
Yeah.
So I am not a race car driver. I'm just not made of that same ilk.
Yeah. Well, it is an interesting sport though, and it is dangerous as hell.
It's fun
and loud and very loud.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Yeah, I just like how close those guys get together without even really touching, but they get so damn close. It's just like
they're touching.
It's so precision done. Well, I'm sure they do touch, but you know what I'm saying? Like the precision of it all. It's incredible to watch. It really, really is. I can only imagine actually doing it for real and being there for real. That's crazy.
So actually, interestingly enough, and maybe I'll reach out to them to see if they would come on the show for with us, or wait till they actually have a race here. Dover Motor Speedway follows the Philly sports guy, loves all my stuff. I do get
Awesome.
likes from them all the time. I went down there. I was invited down there. And the only reason why I was able to go was because it was a rain out. I was away. I came back on that Sunday. That Monday, they had the race and I was home. So I went to the race, and they've been following me ever since because I gave them a shout out. I did a couple things. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. Where we were in a suite where you didn't hear it, you could put on the headsets to listen to the different things. We were right next to, was it Penske? But it was another one of those that they had a car specifically out there.
Right.
And you could listen to their headset, and I went walking around to try to talk to some of these people because hey, I mean, I'm into sports. You could say that this is a sport, even though it's a whole different type of sports. It's it does take a lot out of your body.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely it does.
And we'll find this all out tomorrow.
Yesterday, man, with the amount of insulation, the heat of the car, you're dehydrating like a champ in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, which is the reason why you don't have to wear a diaper if you have to pee, because you're not getting out of the car for 4 or 5 hours.
But if you did, do you just let it go? It's like, nah. I'd rather pee in my suit than lose this race, maybe. I don't know.
I got to imagine that it's occurred at one point. We will find those answers out. We will find those answers out tomorrow. When we start reading, we start talking to some of these people.
I'm gonna Google that.
I'd love to be able to get, like I says, I'll reach out to my Arco guy and see if we can get some guys out here, because I also have a friend of mine that does drag racing.
That's awesome.
With those cars.
The funny car too, because I love that funny car stuff.
He doesn't have the long one. He actually has the car. But it does have the spoiler and stuff like that to be able to keep it down and such. But he doesn't have those long cars with the two bicycle
he
wheels.
Doesn't have the rail, but he has a funny car.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's
so
awesome.
those are things. That's a different type of racing in general.
I actually, speaking of NHRA, I got to race go-karts against Ron Capps. That was pretty fun.
Nice.
Well, I got to race go-karts against Troop 125, and they kicked my ass.
That makes sense.
They were lighter. They were lighter than I was.
100%.
Interestingly enough, I do have a motocross friend. I don't know if he does motocross like in a real sense, or he just is one of those guys that always is riding his motorcycle with just the one wheel.
That's crazy.
Does a lot of wheelies. I got you.
Well, it's just that's his thing. That's what he does. That's how he influences social media. So,
Gotcha.
We'll bring them up as we go here. It's not one of those things. We have plenty of time. We're going to be on forever here. Yeah.
It's almost like it's a daily show.
Exactly. Almost.
Grow as we speak.
So listen, guys, an interesting show today. Obviously, again, our thoughts and prayers go to the families that were affected in Kansas City. It's, we spent the front hour on this, and although we have opinions in many different ways, that doesn't stop the heinous act that was occurred here. And we wish all of those families that are injured, a speedy recovery, and hope that everything goes well and that justice gets served in the proper way. That being said, everybody else, Lenny Dykstra, we hope you feel better too. When next time you're out here in Dolan's, we'll make sure to add you to the show so that we can get you on here to hang out with us and make sure that you're okay. Yeah, exactly, because that's what we do. He'd be amazing on the show. He would be amazing on the show. Other than that, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody take care. Have a great day.